Here we are, finally getting into some of the good episodes, even some of my personally favorite episodes I actually fell in love with that I actually really so much enjoy. And pretty much I've got at least like 7 of them, and I might even have like 3 honorable mentions in this list. So let's get on right into them.
Don't!
Get it?
Shut up! That boy can feel pain.
Sigh.
Can't Lynn-em All. Okay, so this is possibly one of the best Lynn episodes I ever got, right next to sponsorship, but somehow this episode includes wrestling and Lynn being the actual main focus, which actually works, and it really works for the execution, especially when I actually really enjoyed reviewing this episode with Steam Team WK, and let me tell you, we had a blast doing this episode review. With Lynn here, on the other hand, known as the Brawl Monitor, actually ends up in the Messling Rat Ring that's actually taking out some of the bad guys, and then suddenly kind of went overboard after taking out Tippy the cow and started taking out the good guys, which caused her to get so much hate and so much bad criticism, which somehow she kind of did and didn't exactly deserve. As I stated before, I still like Lynn, I just don't like the choices that she makes, especially when you think about how she was handled in Sitting Bull and No Such Luck. But even with the urge of having an ego of pride of being so much the strongest and fastest Loud in the family, that can never replace the feeling of being loved. And this actually shows that Lynn was actually going to do the right thing in the very end by throwing a match against Santa Claus, which wouldn't surprise me if that was Mr. Grouse in disguise as Santa Claus. But just like in Sponsored Trip, Lynn actually knew what the right thing was and what the wrong thing that she was doing. It's not like how the way she was behaving in Winner Takes All. She just did it because it felt like it was the right thing in her heart. I love wrestling, I love how Lynn was handling this episode, and I can't wait to see more episodes that do this, along with Sponsored Trip, of Lynn's character really good. Music to My Fears. It may not be considered that phenomenal, but I have to admit, with the storyline of Luna actually feel like she's going to be replaced thanks to Luann's bullshit story about her being in this suddenly Sleemore kind of play, she goes and finds out a new replacement and finds Nina, who is pretty much an interesting character who still needs some development. And I really love this character at first sight when seeing her, because honestly, Luna tried to do so much replacement with some kid who plays a tuba and can't even stop walking around and dancing and shit. But in the end, she finally learns to accept Nina, and they actually welcome her in the Moon Goats band. And even with one of the creepiest images that kind of really disturbed me so much, especially with Luann's face when she did it at first. And speaking about that, there was no need for Luann to actually be in this episode. Luna could have just solved this problem much likely by herself, especially when we've seen good episodes that did her well with Roadie to Nowhere, or even a better episode that simply would have played out as a Luna Loud episode, Deep Cuts. I just hope we get more of this character Nina in another Luna Loud episode, which was kind of shameful because I didn't see her in The Weakest Ink. I mean, what happened to this character? She was so good to actually be part of the Moon Goats band. I mean, if they could actually use Care for her debut in Beg, Borrow, and Steal, and then finally make a full development character on her in Careless Whisper, and have her in more Lincoln and the Freckle Gang episode, I think Nina should actually get that chance to actually be a better character in another episode with her and the Moon Goats in it. My standards of watching this episode weren't too very much high in the episode, but when I watched it, it felt like they did me wrong and actually made me love this episode, especially with the new character. Child's Play. There's so much of this episode I really enjoy, especially when it's Luna and the Moon Goats actually trying to get new speakers and they gotta earn money to perform at children's events. But they use Lily as an inspiration to write some of their songs that Lily is actually singing to herself about to make some childish kind of theme actually happen to the children at their event. I found a lot of things that what they did, especially in the ending when they could figure out how they could do their own songs, even without Lily actually singing to herself. This is an episode you can watch and it will make you feel like a kid again, like how you used to be and what you used to like doing as a kid. I mean, I'm a person who grew up in the 90s. I used to watch Rugrats, Wild Thornberrys, Hey Arnold, Cat Dog, Rocko's Modern Life. And I used to watch Cartoon Network shows like Dexter's Laboratory, Johnny Bravo, The Powerpuff Girls, Ed, Ed and Eddie, Codename Kids Next Door. Hell, even the more depressing, Cow and Chicken. And you know what? There's some of this stuff I still watch today, even if they show reruns. And there are sometimes I like to look back at the old Thomas and Tank Engine friends. And an episode like this, it kind of adds this layer of behaving and being like a kid again. In a way, you can actually feel like you're in a child's shoes if you can very much relate to them. I enjoyed this episode, and I definitely enjoyed Grey Griffin singing, especially when I got to have her sing Pure Imagination in Welcome to the Doll Heist review. It's cute, it's relatable, and it's an episode that's never gonna leave me anytime soon. And Inspector Falls, oh my gosh, this is probably one of the greatest Lou-Anne Loud episodes in this season, especially when she doesn't have the dummy with her. Oh yeah, I just went there. Lou-Anne becomes a detective in a play that Miss Bernardo is actually directing, and suddenly everything starts to turn into a real mystery like Sherlock Holmes. And she becomes the head detective herself, and I just love her character throughout this episode, even with Benny as her side dog, if that's what I can call him perfectly. I love every bit of this episode, and some things kept you engaging to actually solve the mystery in the very end to see who the real culprit is behind it. And you know, it's like Lincoln doing Ace Savvy or David Steele, but place it with Lou-Anne, and you actually have a good detective kind of storyline that really kind of adds up in 11 minutes. While the execution may be predictable, but honestly, it keeps you so engaging to try and guess who the real culprit is in the very end, because normally it'd be 3 different kind of culprits, and then suddenly you find out who the real culprit is in the very end. And likewise, Lou-Anne was the only Loud sister in this episode, and nobody else was actually there in it. If you could like Fool's Paradise, Head Poet's Anxiety, The Last Laugh, or even, dare I say it, Stage Fright, then you will definitely love Lou-Anne Loud in this episode. Candy Crush. I absolutely loved this episode. Even though it had sugar and so much sweet to the actual episode, there is a bit of sour to the episode, which I will get to in a moment. First off, I love how the story is really centered around Lola having so much of a sweet tooth, and then suddenly, until her mom Rita decides to make her set a goal of healthy eating and tells her that if she can go a week without even having a sweet tooth, she'll get a new dress. And for 4 days, she actually was doing so much really good to avoid any kind of sweets, ice cream, candy bar, or even so much cereal. But on the last day, on a Friday, her class goes on a field trip to a candy factory, and that's where things get really complicated and too weird. Consider they actually went to a candy factory, and without the adult supervision, and the fact that so much of the gummy bears are alive? Yeah, I know it's pretty much weird, because honestly, if they were animatronics, I think it could have actually worked to the advantage instead of working at a disadvantage. Because I don't even know how the fuck he even made gummy bears come alive. The song may seem a little bit too catchy, but it just didn't grab me in some certain ways. I kept thinking to myself, like, I feel like I'm actually watching a bit of a parody of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. But the ending is what most people bitch about so much, about Lola didn't even deserve to actually have the dress because she actually lost the bet. Let me ease up your minds a little bit. Lola did something that every one of her siblings had actually failed to do in the past, and that was her honesty. I mean, she came home with a sad look on her face, hugs her mom, and told her that I don't deserve the dress. I came and had a treat. It's not like she came walking in the door and tried to be sneaky about it and just pretend like nothing actually really happened. She just came and let it out and just let the truth come out. Like, her honesty is actually what won her the prize of getting the dress in the end. Because as she said herself,
We went on a field trip to a candy factory, and I tried so hard all day, but in the end, I just couldn't resist. I'm sorry, Mom. I know I let you down.
I mean, she made it through an entire week and even made through a candy factory and only had one single tiny treat. It's not like she was freaking hog wild and ate somebody's birthday cake or eating a frickin' super ice cream sundae. She is pretty much a fighter, as she pretty much showed in Under Pressure. So pretty much her honesty is what really much got her rewarded. So I pretty much enjoyed the episode as much as I enjoyed watching it first before I even watched Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, or the new Wonka movie for that matter. If you got a sweet tooth, then this episode is just right for ya. Sleepless in Royal Woods. This isn't too much of a surprise to know why it's actually one of my favorites on this list, especially when I reviewed this on Mother's Day. And not to mention, I had Candy Milo guest star appear in that review. It follows Rita trying to get Lily to sleep after when her dad muchly fucked her mind up by giving her some kind of Cocoa Express bean. So she does the au pair and drive the kid around until they fall asleep routine, until it quickly turned into a crime investigated episode where Rita and Lily go investigate a crime that actually took place at John Ron Smith's buffet. And everything gets so fun and entertaining along the way, with Lily and Rita actually being together like mother and daughter. And I really enjoy moments with a mom and her daughter together, especially when they're young. There were very cute moments I found with Lily, and there were some fun moments I had with Rita. But the reveal and the motivation of the burglar feels ridiculous, especially when it turned out to be Miss Bernardo actually trying out to be a burglar for a commercial. I mean, seriously? She could have been in trouble and got arrested for doing this kind of stuff. And practically, who was actually out here watching her doing all this kind of stuff other than Rita and Lily? I mean, was there any camera guys or even stunt persons around to actually witness all of this? Listen, if you're trying to do something just for a commercial, for heaven's sakes, at least have some professionals actually be there to videotape all this stuff so they can see your audition. This kind of proves nothing. But it didn't bother me, as I was quite enjoying Rita and Lily together in this episode. And I definitely love how the title card actually lives up to the latter. If you love episodes that happen to do with Rita interacting with one of her younger daughters, then this is actually a perfect episode for you to watch for Mother's Day. Episodes like Undercover Mom and Crown and Dirty, they're not bad, but they could use some improvements. But they'll never be any better than this Loud House episode. I love it as so much as I love my own mother. Love me, Tanner. I may not like how Lincoln and the Freckle Gang were actually handled for what they tried to do in this episode, but that can't get in the way about how Gus's character development was actually coming out in this episode. And I mean by that is him becoming an opera singer and turning Gus's games and grub actually turning into an opera stage. I just hope we get more development on some minor characters that we actually love. Welcome to the Doll Heist. I enjoyed Lily's part in this episode about trying to get Eunice back before Lola even gets home from her friend Ingrid. I might say it was even better than Get the Message. Even with Greg Griffin's performance as Lily, as much as Lily was actually in the Loud House episode review of this one. And I'm hoping they actually make Lily a better character than how they used her in Appetite for Destruction. Bye Bye Birthday. I really love how Lucy's birthday was actually handled in this episode. How she tried to get out of not actually being celebrated the same thing every year, and suddenly she kind of misses it all and actually wants it all back. It's never too late to actually enjoy the stuff as you were as a kid, especially when you're starting to become a grown-up. I believe this, along with Present Day, are possibly the best birthday episodes we got from the younger Loud siblings. And for the #1 most likable and favorite episode that I really enjoyed from season 7 of all time is 'Twas the Fight Before Christmas. A damn surprise.
God damn this
Christmas special. It has been so damn long since we got a good Christmas special, ever since season 2. Oh yeah, 11 Lives of Leaping actually started season 2, and it's been that damn long since we got another Christmas special. Screw Flip Miss Carol and screw Seasons Cheating indefinitely. This is a Christmas special of the Loud House that takes the whole centerpiece of the cake. And this is the first episode where we actually get some of the Loud relatives from Lynn's side of the family. In this episode, Lincoln and his long-lost cousins, who we never actually heard about since in this season, along with their mom and dad, Sharon and Lance. With the latter, though, is actually the brother of Lynn Sr., who these two once had a fight during Christmas time and never saw each other or speak to each other ever again. There were some of the annoyance in this episode with Lance and Lynn Sr. acting like they're not even so much damn adults. But I really like so much the interactions with Lincoln, the sisters, and the cousins all together, trying to actually get their dads to actually hook up and stop fighting over the stupidest shit. And the ending was so satisfied, I almost nearly cried so much at the end of it, because honestly, I love how so much the family got back together again, and I'm hoping I could see more episodes with their cousins so much into it. And although this seems like a bit of minor of a nitpick, but there have been some criticisms about the character Shelby, especially during part of the second act, of how she didn't have so much sense of direction. I know so many people were to think it would have been better if Lisa actually came along and actually had the GPS and actually helped Lori and Lincoln actually know where the store is. And if it hadn't been for one of Lance's kids to actually come along with Lynn Sr.'s kids, then somehow Lance would have never came, and he wouldn't even give two shits about it if they were Lynn Sr.'s kid. But with one of his kids being with Lynn Sr.'s kids, that's what actually came to hook up together, and I think that actually worked. In other words, Shelby actually saved Christmas and the family, even if she almost got them killed. And I know a fact, I actually liked the song in the very end, and it was so much good. I just hope we actually get a good episode with Sean and Luna, because I already know we're getting a good episode, or maybe even a mid-episode with Lynn Jr. and Shiloh. Although for Shelby, I'm not too sure if she actually would be with Lincoln or Lisa in an episode. Whatever they're gonna do, I hope they actually make some good episodes with the cousins interacting with the Loud kids. Because I really much enjoyed this Christmas special, especially with so much character developments that have been flushed out. This has been so much my top 7 favorite likable and lovable Loud House episodes from season 7. And now, let's get into the hating of this season. And let's see what you guys think is going to be number 1 on this list.
Cause this is